Hello there, and welcome to the Astrology Beginner's Guide, Part 3. And for those of you that are returning to watching this part in the series, I really hope that you're enjoying it and you're learning something new from what is being discussed with you today. Okay, all right, so let's look at Part 3 of this guide. And today we're going to be discussing the outer planets, all right? Now, so far, what you've learned is that there is a natal chart, and you've learned that this natal chart contains these signs, these constellations, and you've seen, or constellations and signs being the same thing, and houses, okay? And then you've also seen that there are these four main points called cardinal points, and they're the AC, the MC, the DC, and the IC, okay? Now, you also noticed that there was this keyword called cusp, house cusp, and the sign on the house cusp, right? Then from that, you then saw a natal chart that gave you an understanding of what the planets look like in an actual natal chart and what it looks like, right? And you saw this intricate web of how planets move anti-clockwise and how constellations move clockwise around this 360-degree wheel. And you also noticed that the planets make these relationships to each other, which create this kind of way in which we experience things, right? Aspects and phases. So in part 2, what we learned was that there is this personality that we have that allows us to see the world and how people see us in that sense. And that was the sun, moon, and ascendant, right? And it's a very common thing to understand about astrology, and you'll discover it as you explore this process, okay? And the sun, moon, and ascendant, very simply, again, the sun is what gives color. Today, I'm expressing this to you. You are seeing my color, all right? You've got the moon, which represents the way that we internally see ourselves, right? How we spend each day having experiences come to us, and we reflect on them and we see how they influence us. And it's like, oh, that's how I am, right? And then you got the ascendant, again, which is this part of us that every single time we act, every single time we make a choice, it leads us to something that we're discovering about ourselves. And all those three like placements create this trinity of personality, okay? Now we get to the part 3, which is the outer planets. And to me, the outer planets are really fascinating, simply because we're actually living in a time where one of the reasons why you're looking at astrology is these outer planets, okay? The outer planets reflect the part of the chart where there is more of a generational influence, okay? The outer planets, which I'll talk about, the outer planets have more of a generational influence. The sun, the moon, they move around the zodiac, which is that 12 house and sign experience. You can actually see it there. It looks like that right now. That's the zodiac. That zodiac, the moon and the sun move around. The sun 1 year, the moon every 30 days, right? 28 days. And Mercury, Mars, and Venus, these planets, Jupiter and Saturn, these are the inner planets, okay, which we won't get too much into, but they represent this very kind of like very like fast-moving experience. And those planets themselves have very short spans around the zodiac, whereas the outer planets have a lot longer time in each zodiac sign. So they have more of a generational influence on us, okay? So let's look at our slides over here quickly, and let's identify these 3 planets, okay? So you're looking at a slide right now, and you can see that on my cursor, I've got this color here, right? This is Uranus, okay? Or Uranus, however you choose to describe it or express it. Then you see Neptune over here, and then you see Pluto over here. Okay, that's what the symbols look like in the birth chart, all right? So Uranus is an outer planet. The Neptune is an outer planet. The Pluto symbol is an outer planet, okay? Now, these planets over here, these symbols over here, okay, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, they are the way that we connect to these outer planets. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that these outer planets exist in a non-physical, non-linear, it's very abstract. These energies, these ways that they express themselves are very deeply ingrained in our psychological behavior. They're what we would access if we went into hypnosis. It's the themes in our lives that are imprinted into us over long periods of time that really shape the more unconscious parts of ourselves. Okay, so when we go for therapy, or we look at the trauma in our lives, or we understand that there is a deeper meaning to our existence, these are these outer planets that are influencing our process. Okay, and as I said again, very important, they have generational influence. So with Uranus, it takes 7 years to go through a sign. And so with Neptune, it takes 14 years to go through a sign. And Pluto, it can vary, right? Sometimes Pluto goes through a sign which is 10 years, and sometimes it can take up to 20, okay? So these rotations around these, around the zodiac, around the in our solar system, around the sun, these outer planets have a lot longer effect, okay? So everybody gets that. And then, of course, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, which you can see over here, that's how we connect to it on a personal level. So how do we make it more in our personality? So Mercury represents how we express our individuality. Uranus is how it actually is in us, okay? So Uranus is these unique ideas, this way in which we relate to ourselves. And then Mercury is, how do I express that? How does somebody see that in a physical way, right? Venus is the part of us where we do things with a bargain, right? So say, for instance, I say to you, okay, I'll teach you this, and in return, you provide me with energy refund. That's Venus. Neptune, that's an energy that has none, right? It doesn't have any return. It says, I will do this for you for free because this is something that gives me great meaning. You understand? And so Pluto is this part of us that influences our desires. So when I created this series, I had a desire and it had meaning, and now I'm here expressing my individuality to you. But in order for me to actually have this desire exist in physical form in this world, in this life, I'd need to have to action it, Mars, right? And then I'll explain to you, hey, by the way, I'm doing this over here and you're watching it in return, right? That's the Neptune, that's the Venus part. You're relating to me. And then, of course, the Mercury is our connection. So you see how these outer planets influence and connect with the inner planets, and the inner planets connect with the outer planets. And that's how this whole entire holistic integration of what is called transpersonal, okay? You will learn that as you discover more of the stuff, these transpersonal planets are what shape our cultures, what shape our destinies, as it were. And so when you connect with them, they have deeper meanings, deeper layers, right? That only you can really connect with, but it's shared with many other people, okay? So the outer planets of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, you will notice in your chart. And all the planets, like Saturn, like Jupiter, like Mars, like Venus, like the Moon, like the Sun, and of course Mercury, they are all personal planets, and they are more subjective. Does that make sense? They're more connected to you and how you kind of express yourself. And that's the subtle difference between the two. So these outer planets, they move very slowly. And of course, they influence our culture, and they're generational. All right? Okay. So let's have a look at the next slide over here. And this slide over here is a little bit more metaphysical, a little bit more abstract, a little bit more deeper. And the reason why is because I would also like to reveal to you what the deeper planets do. Okay, these outer planets connect with us in a way where we learn about the higher meaning in our lives. Okay, it's the planets that really reveal to us what we have destined to do, like I've said. And when we look at these outer planets and the configurations, it's our perception of them that gives us the awareness of where they exist. And that's why you will notice that these outer planets aren't something that are very commonly understood in generic astrology, in my opinion. And the reason why is because it's something that we haven't really explored. Our consciousness hasn't expanded yet to encompass this vast awareness of what they are, okay? And, you know, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto are very new in terms of our collective awareness. So it is our relationship to these planets and how we're consistently developing our relationship to them that allows us to discover more of what the deeper meaning is. And that's why I said that astrology and this type of way of learning and discovering something is so up on the rise at the moment, because these outer planets are becoming more conscious for us, and we're learning to understand that we have these higher meanings, that life isn't very simple, like you get up, you cut some cheese, you eat a sandwich, and then you go to sleep. It's like, what inspires me? What are my desires, right? How do I express my individuality? These all things are becoming more prominent, and of course our relationship to these planets through our awareness are becoming more and more visible. And so this is what this picture represents, this capacity for our eyesight to expand more, right? We're becoming more sensory. And then finally, in this little graph over here, what's beautiful about these outer planets, okay, is that it's about watching your story. That's what they mean. The outer planets move so slowly that the experiences that we have with them are like an unfoldment of your life over the, say, 70 to 80 year span, okay? Whereas the inner planets of Mars and Venus, etc., they move so fast around there that they kind of like shape your inner world. But when you watch the story of your life, you watch your outer planets, okay? And you'll learn in part 4 about transits and progressions. And so these outer planets operate in a non-linear way. That's why life can appear so intriguing to us, that it's always the unexpected, or life's like a box of chocolates. Every single day is a new experience, right? And it's about this integration into our lives, that there is more for us to discover, and these outer planets represent this as they move in our birth chart. So it's a really fascinating thing to understand, and they're non-linear. So there's nothing, doesn't make sense to us when we try to understand it with our minds. It's very personal and an emotional experience, and it's about watching your story. Okay. All right, guys. So in the description below, I'd like you to go there right now and click on a link. And in the link, you'll see that there is like, it takes me to my website, and you'll see that there's a beginner's course astrology that you can study with me. There's a thing called Learn Your Chart, which is a great way to learn how your chart works and then book a reading with myself. And there's multiple amounts of articles and wonderful ways in which you can connect with me and learn astrology, because I'm obviously revealing to you how I teach. And so you can get comfortable with that process, all right? So if you go there right now to the description in YouTube, you'll see that there's a link for my website. Go there right now and check out what I've got available for you, okay? All right, my friends, fantastic. I'll see you in part 4, and have a fantastic day. Take care, bye-bye.